morning, problem solvers. Welcome to the show. Today is Friday, so I hope everyone is celebrating a phenomenal end of the week. Uh, we're going to talk about police today. I know it's so unusual, and it's not about sales, it's not about marketing, but it's definitely necessary for you to know how to deal with the police. So I want to share with you 10 rules for dealing with the police. And then if you stick around till the end, which is only going to be about 30 minutes, maybe less, you will get the big bonus. You're going to learn how to get out of a ticket. I'm going to share with you a little technique that I've been using for years, and it's super powerful and very helpful. So, let me know that you're here. Let me know that you want to learn the 10 rules on how to deal with the police. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to the first rule. But before we go there, obviously, in the past few months, with this crazy year, 2020, we've experienced a lot of different um, different situations, and we've observed a lot of different opinions, and we've had a lot of conversations about the police, defunding the police, supporting the police. Is the police necessary? I personally don't want to talk about politics today, but I want to talk about very simple rules, your rights as a citizen, and for those of you who are young individuals, 18, 19, this would be super helpful. If you have kids in that age, please share that video with them as well, because most people don't know how to deal with the police. Most people become scared and panic in front of the police when they get pulled over for first time or second time, and that creates more complications, that confuses the police officers. Police officers are taught in the academy to follow a specific process, to observe body language, to observe micro impressions, uh, to follow specific patterns that people do, and they're prepared for that. So if you are acting um, questionably, if you're panicking, you could confuse a police officer, and it could become a big mess, right? So I want to start with those 10 rules, and then I'm going to share with you the bonus on how to get out of a ticket if you follow the steps. So the first rule is to always be calm and cool. Always be calm and cool. And that's the reason why I talked to you a little bit about the confusion. Sometimes we are just panicking, we're just afraid of the consequences. We don't know what's going to happen, and our body language suggests totally different emotion that is actually going on inside of us. And a lot of people do stupid things while they're in panic mode. So do not panic when you get pulled over. Always keep calm and cool. That's the rule number one. And I know it's difficult, but keep in mind, police is there to protect you. Police is there to take care of you. So they're not there to hurt you. So in the beginning, when you get pulled over, just remember rule number one is stay calm and cool, regardless of what you've done, regardless of what happened. Number two is never touch a police officer. Never touch a police officer, no matter what. Don't try to be friendly. I know that some personalities have to touch people to show affection. Some personalities have to touch people to show that they like them, to show that they support them, to show that they appreciate them. So in this case, you don't ever want to touch a police officer. Once when you touch the police officer, then they have to follow a specific order of process, and it may not be so pleasant. So do not touch a police officer, no matter what. Never. Rule number three is you have rights, and you could surrender your rights voluntarily. So you could give up your rights, and if you don't know your rights, it's most likely that you will give them up. So keep in mind that you have rights, and don't give them up, because the police officer will ask you for permission to do stuff, and if you give them permission to do stuff, then they will take advantage of that. So knowing your rights is your responsibility. I know we're talking about police today, but I'm going to share with you a little information about a law called the Hamburger Law. So a lot of people don't know, but the companies that used to, the big tobacco companies, Philip Morris and all these companies that obviously got sued for multiple billion-dollar lawsuits for killing people with tobacco. They moved into the food industry and they created a law called the Hamburger Law. And the beautiful thing about the Hamburger Law, I don't know how beautiful it is, but how the way they protected themselves from those big lawsuits is ignorance. So look it up, the Hamburger Law. If you What the Hamburger Law means is if you eat meat and you end up dying from it or you end up getting very sick from it, and you didn't read the description or where the meat comes from, or what are the potential side effects from eating that meat, then it's your fault. So ignorance is your responsibility, right? And that's kind of how the police works as well. If you don't know your rights, then you're most likely giving them up when they ask for permission. So I hope you understood that analogy. I'm going to move to the next rule. So look up the Hamburger Law though for your own good. Rule number 4 is ask whether you're being detained or free to go. This is the most important question because once when you get pulled over, if things get complicated for no reason and you have a little bit of a bad feeling, now is the time to ask, are you being detained um, or free to go? And by law, if they have no cause to um, arrest you or detain you, then they will have to say that you're free to go. So it's a very important question. Definitely make sure you ask that question. It's a fundamental question to ask when things get complicated and if you feel that you've invested a lot of time for no reason. So, number 5 is you may refuse most searches, especially in your car. So just like for police officers need a warrant to get into your house. They also need that to search your car. So if they don't have a warrant, they cannot really search your car unless you give them permission. So that's the catch. If they ask you, "Can I look in your glove box?" and then you say no, they might think that there's a reason why you don't want them to look in the glove box, right? So they might say that there is something there that you're hiding, and that's fair from them for them to assume. But they would still need a warrant to look into the glove box. So make sure that you understand that you may refuse most searches, but if you give permission for most searches, then you have surrendered your rights. So, rule number 6 is do not confess wrongdoing directly to the police. Always speak to a lawyer before you do anything. So, if you confess wrongdoing, obviously, you've seen in all the movies how they read your rights real fast and they tell you that everything you say will be used against you and blah, 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 blah. They said just like the fine print on the commercials, real fast. But keep in mind, if you confess wrongdoing during the time while you're pulled over, it will be registered, it will be documented, and it will be used against you. So you could plead the fifth. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say that you're innocent, or you don't have to admit wrongdoing. You can just remain quiet. So do not confess to wrongdoings. Number 7 is don't lie. Never lie. Remain silent instead. It's so much better to not say anything instead of lying. So never, ever, ever, ever lie if you get pulled over by the police. Never lie. So this is one of the things that many, many, many people um, make mistakes with, and it's too late once when you lie. So never lie, remain silent instead. Um, rule number rule number what rule number are we on? Are you guys paying attention? I think 7 or 8. Rule number 8: ask for a lawyer if things get out of hand. If you feel that you need protection, I mean, you always do. But if you feel like things are getting out of control, always ask for a lawyer. And by law, they have to provide you with one, or you have the opportunity to call your own lawyer. So, rule number 8: ask for lawyer. Rule number 9 is demand a warrant for entry in your home. Nobody can walk into your home without a warrant unless you give them permission. If somebody asks you, "May I walk into your home?" and you say yes, it's over. But if you know your rights, and if you know that they need a warrant to get in, then always make sure you ask for that. So demand a warrant for entry into your home. And the final rule, rule number 10, is never argue with police officer. Never argue with police officer. Instead, if there's some type of misconduct, you need to report that later on after the case is over. So observe every single detail. Maybe as soon as you're done, write down all the details and send it in written form, so you have all the details and people could do their fact checking. But never argue with the police officer. You will never win that argument. Never debate. Uh, they most of the time they don't have the decision making power. They're not the judge. So fighting with them, arguing with them, it's only going to complicate things, and it's only going to put you in misconduct. So if you catch police officer in misconduct, definitely report that, but don't tell them about it and don't argue with them on the spot. So those are the 10 rules. I'm going to repeat them one more time really fast. The first one is to always be calm and cool. Always be calm and cool, because it's so important to not confuse the police officer. Sometimes we haven't done anything, but because of high anxiety or because of panicking or just fear, we do some crazy things, and we suggest that our emotions are different. So keep calm and cool. As hard as that is, and as hard as it sounds, you definitely need to keep calm and cool for your own good. Never touch a cup. Never touch a cup, no matter what. You have rights. Don't give them up. That's rule number 3. Don't give up your rights. They will ask you for permission. They will try to get away with stuff if you allow them to. So you're in control. You still have control. Even when you are arrested, you still have control over your rights, and you can choose not to give them up. So never always make sure you ask whether or not you're being detained or free to go. It's the most important question. You need to learn that question. You always need to ask that question when you're dealing with the police. You may refuse most searches. There are some searches that you may not refuse, but most searches you may refuse. Do not confess wrongdoing. Never confess wrongdoing. Don't do that in front of the insurance company either before you speak to your lawyer. And don't lie. Remain silent instead. Never lie. Never lie to the police. Never lie to anyone. Instead, remain silent and ask for a lawyer. You have the right for a lawyer, so definitely ask for a lawyer. Demand a warrant if somebody enters your home or wants to search your vehicle, and never argue with a police officer. Okay, I hope those rules help, because a lot of people, have made comments about police brutality, about things like that. And I feel that most people don't know the rules of dealing with the police, and most people don't know their rights. So I hope this gives you a little bit more clarity on how to deal with the police, and why sometimes things get out of hand and things get complicated. Because for some of the cases that happened in the past few months, I'm sure that the people who got shot by the police, or the people who um, killed a police officer, or whatever happened, in the past few months, there was a lot of cases. I feel that that information would have helped some of the victims, and that information would have helped some of the people that are involved in taking sides. So hopefully this is helpful. And now we get to the point where I share the bonus. So thanks for sticking around. Um, so as you know, I teach sales, life, I teach marketing, um, and I always practice educational selling style, and also relationship based selling style. But one of the things that makes me really, really unique is I love the word leverage. So, as a sales professional, my selling style is convincing, and convincing leaves no margin of doubt. But in a situation where you have to convince somebody, you definitely have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. You have to be able to collect the dots, and you have to be able to connect the dots. You have to be able to execute everything with high level of confidence, and to be able to own the present moment. So, in my approach in sales, I've always assumed what my clients' fears are. I always assume what my clients' objections are, and I proactively created a process that would address those fears and would eliminate those objections by owning them first, by taking responsibility for them. So here's what I would do, and here's what I do, and what I've been doing for many, many years when I get pulled over. When I speed a little bit, or in case I've you know I get pulled over for traffic um, situation, you know traffic offense, I think they call it. The first thing that I do when the police officer comes to my um, door is I have my window cracked almost halfway, but yeah, almost halfway. And I have my driver's license and my insurance in my left hand. So as soon as the police officer comes in, I hand them my driver's license and my insurance with the words. I always want to speak first because I want to interrupt their pattern of thinking, right? So I always want to speak first, and I want to take full responsibility for exactly why I'm getting pulled over, which is something that 99% of people just don't do. When police officers pull you over, they're going to ask you always two questions. And I'm sure you know those two questions. The first question is, do you know why I pulled you over? And the second question is, do you have a driver's license and insurance? So every human being who has been pulled over has been asked those two questions. So if we know those two questions, can we answer those two questions proactively, so we can save the police officer some time and aggravation, and we can proactively take responsibility for that so they can't use it against us? So here's how it looks in real life with that situation. The police officer comes to my door. I have the window cracked up, and I have my driver's license and insurance prepared. I hand him to the police officer, and I say, Mr. Officer, Mr. Police Officer, I apologize for wasting your time. I know exactly why you pulled me over. I was speeding, and normally, under normal circumstances, I would have never done this. I promise you, I was very responsible, and um, I have an emergency situation right now, whatever that is. Because if you are driving fast, um, just because you're enjoying your car, you could be honest. You could say, "Hey, listen, uh, just enjoying my car. I was being stupid. I apologize." But always tell the truth. If you are late for work, tell the truth. I apologize. I'm late for work. I'm late for court. I'm running late most of the time. My schedule is super tight. So in my case, I'm always late when I get pulled over, and most of the time is for a little bit of speeding. So I would say I apologize. I take full responsibility. I know I was driving 20 over, or 15 over, or 10 over, and I promise you I will do everything in my power to never let this happen again. And sorry for wasting your time. So I start with wasting your time and I end with wasting your time. I basically describe the situation that is about to reveal. I tell him about my record, that he's going to see that my record is clean, and then the police officer takes my driver's license, almost says nothing. Every time goes back to the car, checks the record, checks to see that everything I said is true, and then comes back and hands me the driver's license and insurance back, and usually give me a warning and wishes me a great day. So it's so important for you when you get pulled over to take full responsibility and to be honest about why you got pulled over. Because as soon as they ask you the question, do you know why I pulled you over? We do know. And for those people that say I don't know, or for those people that start arguing and say I wasn't speeding, the other guy was speeding too, you're not getting a warning. You're gonna get a ticket, and you're not getting out of it. So arguing with the police is not gonna help you. Taking responsibility, owning why you got pulled over is exactly what is going to help you to get the warning. Because if you think about it logically, if it's your first offense, if you haven't had a ticket in a couple of years, um, the police, even if you do get it, you will go to court eventually if you want to fight it. And if it's your first offense, you will get a supervision. So they were instructed that if you take full responsibility and if you are honest, that you do get a warning. So they will save you a trip to court. They will save you a lot of money if you're just honest, if you're upfront, and just treat them like human beings. Extend some empathy towards the police officers because they definitely risk their precious life to protect and serve. And they have families, they have kids, they have parents that care about them, that love them. And every morning they leave the house, and in some cities like Chicago, they literally go to war and they don't know if they're going to come back at the end of the day. They don't know if they're going to get shot by somebody. They don't know if they're going to survive and be able to kiss their babies good night. So let's be supportive to police officers. Let's not confuse them. Let's respect what they do, take full responsibility, own our problems, because the reason why they pulled us over at the first place is because we did something wrong. They would not pull us over if we didn't do anything wrong. So this is my experience, and this is what I wanted to share with you, and hopefully you can learn from that. Please share with me in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, if you feel that this was helpful information. Share it with your friends, family, and business associates. I did share that stream to multiple channels, even on my personal profile, so more people can see it. But normally we have this show every morning around 8:30 to the Problem Solvers group. It's exclusively for the Problem Solvers group. So if you're not a member of the Problem Solvers group, definitely find the Problem Solvers group and join us. We do live together there, and I share tips on different topics and themes every single day during the week. So thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you today and sharing with you that information. Make it a great day and be the best version of you.